Rule number 1,
Bios.
always right. Rule number 2, nothing else matters because
Bios
is always right.
Alrighty, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bios, and today we are going to be reacting to a video that was requested to me by a friend. People have been watching my Concord videos, reactions, thoughts, and whatever. So he suggested this to me because my main question was why do people hate Concord? And when I say hate Concord, I'm talking about like going out of their way to harass the game and the developers. So that question has never been answered. It's been a really weird phenomenon. I've never seen anything like this before, especially when it comes to games that were literal scams, and people were completely okay with that. So he sent me this video by Saberpath. I have not watched it. This is gonna be my first time watching it, and he's going to be, I'm guessing, let me see here. So Saberpath's title is Concord's design subjective? Okay, we're back. Okay, I was able to find the actual video. I think my friend sent me the wrong link. This video, he's actually going to get into the character designs. This is what I was waiting to see. So, alright, so this video is called Why Concord Failed, a game developer explains character design. Okay, let's get into it.
Looking at her upper body looks normal, her legs look jacked. So it just seems very mismatched. None of this makes any sense. Her design is very frustrating for me. I don't know who this character is for. My name is Mustafa. I am the solo developer of Saberpath. In the past, I worked at Treyarch and Zwift. Right now, I have published Nexus Defenders, which is available right now on Steam, and I am currently developing a game that is unannounced, and I should be announcing it very soon. Today I'm going to talk about Concord, and while right now it's very popular for people to bash on this game and dance on its grave, I'm not here to make fun of people or celebrate the failure of a studio or of Sony, etc.
I hope not.
I will say, with a disclaimer, I do know at least 3 people who worked on this game, but that's not the reason why I'm saying this. I just don't think that's right to have that type of attitude when it comes to so many people working on a single project. The reason why I want to talk about this game, though, is because it's really important to look at why such a large project has come to a failure, and we can learn from the failures of others. This video is for educational purposes, for those who want to get into video game development, primarily for indie developers. As I mentioned before, I've worked at Treyarch, I've worked at Zwift, and I understand how it feels to be one of the cogs at the bottom while there are bigger cogs at the top that make the larger decisions. And when those larger decisions come to a failure, the cogs at the bottom end up feeling the ramifications. So I understand being in that position. The very first thing I want to get off the bat when talking about Concord and why it failed, above everything else, the game just looks very ugly.
This is an update. As soon as I finished recording that entire video, I look online and Sony has announced that they are suspending Concord. Not sure what that means yet. Maybe they're going to relaunch the game later on as free to play, but again, I'm not dancing on their graves. I'm not celebrating a failure, but we are looking at this so that we can learn from the failure.
I just ran through the trailer during the introduction.
I have yet to see any news about it being suspended, but the servers were being taken offline. So, see?
Introduction of this video, and I picked out these 5 colors that I saw popping up frequently during the trailer, and to be honest, these are just not attractive colors, especially together. I haven't studied color theory, but from a layman's perspective, these are just very ugly colors. I've seen quite a few of my former colleagues, game developers who are in the AAA industry, mention how beautiful the game looks as they're playing the game. And while it might look technically impressive and very detailed and crisp, the colors themselves just aren't beautiful. I think a lot of the people who are
Okay. So far, I don't like the language that he's using here to just say that these colors are ugly. These are colors. colors are made to be used in mix match in any way, shape, or form. And I see a bit more colors than what he picked out. I'm hoping that he's going to say why these colors are ugly instead of just outright calling it ugly. Because if that's it, I have a lot to say against it.
Are saying the game looks beautiful are confusing. They're confusing technical graphics with artistic look. The game just looks very unappealing from how it looks, the world, and the characters. They all look very ugly. And I'm not saying this to make fun of the people who worked on the game, but I just don't believe that whoever came up with these character designs are skilled artists who understand how to make good looking characters, and also whoever came up with the color choice for the game. I don't understand why. The only explanation I can think of is that they wanted to come up with a unique look, which sometimes that is the reason why a game chooses a certain color palette. For example, Deus Ex Human Revolution. As you can see, it's very golden looking. And I recall listening to an interview with one of the game's directors mentioning that they intentionally chose a gold color palette because no other game looks like this. And they wanted the screenshots to look unique so that when someone sees a screenshot online, they can say, oh yeah, that's Deus Ex Human Revolution. But unique doesn't necessarily mean good. We've got that out of the way. Let's look at the characters real quick, and we're going to go through a list of points that I want to go over so you, the viewer who are trying to learn from mistakes, can understand what mistakes to avoid so that you don't make an ugly looking game. It's important to have a good presentation with your game because the characters, especially for a game like this, are what bring in the people. You can have a great story, but no one cares about the story if the game doesn't look appealing. You can have great gameplay, and no one cares about the gameplay if the game doesn't look appealing.
Hello, this is Future Editing Bios here. Just wanted to say that I do not agree with this statement either, mostly because I believe a game can be successful even if the visual aspects are not up to par or not up to everyone's cup of tea. An example of this that I thought of was Borderlands. For a long time, I thought Borderlands was very ugly. I did not like the graphics. I didn't like the art style. But contrary to me, a lot of people did enjoy Borderlands and the Telltale series, Telltale, whatever, because of the story, the characters, and the gameplay. So there are other games. There's like this one game on Xbox that uses very, very, very bland colors, but the exploration and the discovery of the mystery that you embark on helps the game succeed. So just because a game may seem bland at first glance or ugly does not mean that it is a bad game. I believe that those aspects can carry a game to the forefront. Concord seems to be a very extreme case though, and this is why I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the case with it, for why it bombed so bad. But yeah, due to stylistic choice and stylistic uniqueness, for games nowadays, I don't think if a game may not look that great doesn't mean that the game isn't great.
They wanted the screenshots to look unique so that when someone sees a screenshot online, they can say, oh yeah, that's Deus Ex Human Revolution. But unique doesn't necessarily mean good. We've got that out of the way. Let's look at the characters real quick, and we're going to go through a list of points that I want to go over so you, the viewer who are trying to learn from mistakes, can understand what mistakes to avoid so that you don't make an ugly looking game. It's important to have a good presentation with your game because the characters, especially for a game like this, are what bring in the people. You can have a great story, but no one cares about the story if the game doesn't look appealing. You can have great gameplay, and no one cares about the gameplay if the game doesn't look appealing. But if the game's characters don't draw in the customers, then no one wants to play the game. Again, I haven't studied color theory, so I'm not going to talk too much about the technicalities of color, but I will go over the fact that the color choice is very ugly. You look at this lineup, and I don't see any good looking colors. Like,
Okay. I know he's not. Okay. I know he said he's not trying to make fun of the game, and he does not know color theory. Like he said, he does not know color theory, and he's saying that these colors are ugly. I'm just waiting for him to say it because it's like he's not saying anything so far. We have orange, we have blues, we have reds, purples, pinks, yellows. Like, I don't understand because if red, purple, blue, yellow, green is ugly, then a lot of games are ugly if we want to do that. I'm just saying. I think if he related, because in the last video he said he made a game, so I think if he related, maybe he will, his characters and color choice compared to this and say like this is why maybe it could have been more poppy or something, then I would understand more. But just looking at it and being like, these colors are ugly. What do you mean by that?
they all look very ugly. The color tone is very flat. So you can tell
Better.
color tone if you go black and white. And since you see a lot of gray, you see a few areas where it's light over here, it's light over there. That's a little bit light. Her legs are a little bit light. But other than that, everything is very gray. That means the color tone is too similar. People who are colorblind or see color a little bit differently, it's going to be very difficult for them to see these characters. They don't stand out very well. They are visually flat. So when checking to see if your characters are interesting, there's multiple tests you can do to try to see if the characters are interesting. There's the squint test, there's the silhouette test, there's the zoom out test. You can zoom out. And as you can see, once I zoom out far enough, about half of them look the same. That's not a good thing when half of them look the same. You can also blur the image to that would simulate the squint test. Also, there's the mirror test where you make sure that the character doesn't look lopsided once you flip the image horizontally. Another thing I want to point out is that none of these characters look like the main character, meaning none of them look interesting enough for a person to say, I want to play that character. In fact,
Okay, so I liked the examples that he used, talking about the tests and using the gray thing. I really would have liked to see this compared to something else. If I was to give a critique, I would like to see him show this method on something else to compare. But I will speak at this point from my perspective. When I first saw the game, I thought that Itzy was she's the only name that I remember because I didn't play the game that long. I thought Itzy was interesting. I thought the robot chick. Oh, I'm pointing at it like you guys can see. Itzy, she was interesting. The robot chick was interesting. The grandmother is interesting. The fire chick was also interesting, but I just didn't like how she played. She was too slow for me. And I also played the alien. They were cool, also just not for me. And I didn't play. I played a little bit of the Rocket Girl. I played a little bit of her. But I didn't have time to play anyone else because I was mostly just playing Itzy and playing around with the Robot Girl. The Robot Girl, in my opinion, I think she's the best designed one because I like the pink on her. She reminds me of like 3CPO in a way, but with a suit. So I thought she was a fantastic design. But the thing is about it, like this, it seems to be just me or me and the few. A lot of people are just like the characters are ugly. So
a good number of these characters just look like NPCs. I'm just going to take a look at a couple of these characters real quick because I'm not going to go by every single one. He looks like he'd be in the background of like a Star Wars movie. Like one of the guys that are in the background while everyone's getting into their X-Wing fighters. This is an NPC. There is nothing unique looking about him. There's nothing main character looking about him. He doesn't look cool. He's the definition of an NPC. And then this mushroom person basically looks like a random alien bad guy that you would shoot at in just about any first-person shooter that takes place in space. This character does not look like character. Looking at this character, she
Okay, I just had a phone call and actually recorded like the next 10 minutes, but my microphone was muted. So we're gonna do it again. These next few points. Okay, so I have some tabs open to compare and contrast. All right. So he's gonna talk about this girl.
looks like two different characters. Her upper body and lower body do not match at all. It is a huge clash between the two.
So he's saying that the character model does not match with herself. Her upper half clashes with her lower half.
First of all, going back to the color thing, like she's just a very bland color.
Bland color, remember that?
But the top, she has like this raggedy potato sack that she's wearing, and for some reason she's wearing a backwards cap with these goggles on her head.
Okay. So before we get to the goggles and hat, let's get to the aesthetics. Okay. Bland color, contrasting design. One more time. Okay, cool. He's also going to say some more points, but what I'm going to say here is that Sojourn is from Overwatch. She is a little bit more consistent, but the aspects are very identical. Very identical. Color palette, the color palette that he found bland, boring, potato sack, whatever. Here it is. So we have off-white, white, some orange. Orange, reddish, off-white, white. No one is saying that this design on her is whack. People may call her a mop head. I've heard that a few times, but that does not resonate in Overwatch. Yes, the design is different, but I'm saying they are similar. It's very close. Like this could be a skin for Sojourn in Overwatch, and nobody would bat an eye. Let's get now to the next point. Goggles and a hat. She's a sniper. She's gonna have goggles on that lets her see. As far as the hat, stylistic choice. Ty from Digimon. He has goggles over his headband. And then another goggle character that I know. So yeah, so Obito has goggles over his headband. So whether it's a hat, a headband, a scarf, or whatever, it's a stylistic choice. I don't really think there's a problem. That's a problem with it. I don't see how that is considered ugly or contrasty with the character's design, especially when this character is a sniper. She has goggles, and she wears a hat. She thinks it's freaking cool. Would it have been different if she didn't wear a hat?
But then she has, well, I'm assuming are prosthetic legs. I don't think this is power armor, because if it was armor, she should be wearing it up here as well. Also, the fact that her feet have toes make me think that these are prosthetic legs. With that said, assuming that these are prosthetic legs, it seems kind of weird of how thick these legs are.
Okay, this is another point that he said. Going back to Sojourn. When Sojourn was released, the main thing that everybody was calling her out for, I keep looking over here, but the main thing that everybody was calling her out for, not calling her out, but like the main thing that they noticed was that she had really, really thick legs, thick thighs. Okay. Sojourn, for a design aspect, the reason why that her legs are thick is because one, she works out pretty heavily, and her calves have boosters in them. So she can slide and jump really high, right? She's a DPS. She has a railgun, and she also has abilities in her arms and stuff like that. But her legs are big because she has weaponry in them. Now, then once again, you can assume playing a sniper character, and this also makes me think that he probably hasn't seen the trailer or played the game. That's just what it feels. He probably has, but um, this is what it tells me, that he hasn't played or he hasn't seen the trailers. This character is a sniper and she has a super jump. So her prosthetics or what's it called, armored legs is valid for being big, is because the technology that's within them gives her the ability to jump really high. I don't think they're going to make it thin like her legs, like he was saying, even though it's a prosthetic, unless they were to change the design by putting, like, I don't know, maybe some springs in the back or something. I don't know. But just to complement a thinner look. But this character jumps really high, and that's why she has thick thighs. Now, when it comes to the toes, I don't think the toes matter, if they're prosthetics or whatever. And another thing, we've seen stuff like this in like cyberpunky games, in futuristic spacey games, which is what this is kind of is. You're gonna see some weird things. You're gonna see some things that look like they don't go together, but they do. That's the whole point of like a spacey themed universe. Star Trek, Star Wars, cyberpunk. I can agree that maybe they could change the hat. I can agree that maybe this top she has is not very flattering for her design, possibly. But um these are suggestions that we can do to make positive changes. And he, so far, I don't know if he will later, but I'm just saying, like, he's not offering any positive critiques alongside calling it ugly.
Comparing to this other female over here, looking at those legs, those look like normal legs, and these look like big, beefy legs. Looking at her upper body looks normal, her legs look jacked. So it just seems very mismatched. She does not match herself.
Now, another thing that I can mention for that is that if the team were to release skins, they could have easily had a skin where it showed her upper body. And even though her upper body is covered, right? We they could have had a skin where this is not there, and then we could see that she's wearing, like, I don't know, like something more sporty, like a tank top, or more sleek, like a bodysuit, and you could see that she has muscle. Like, I don't think this says anything. But of course, I'm saying, like, future sense of, like, the team to fix it. He's saying it as it is right now, but even in as it is right now, it's still pretty subjective.
I want to go over materials. Let's take a look at this guy real quick. Everyone's made the comparison of this guy being Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's move on from that. But what I want to talk about with this guy, what is this? The color makes it look like a life vest. But what type of material is this? Is this hard material? Is it soft material? It looks soft. It doesn't look bulletproof. I don't understand what this is. So the material itself looks very random. It doesn't make sense to me. Also, the spikes seem out of place. Usually, jagged edges, spikes, these type of shapes are more for aggressive or evil characters. From what I've seen, he seems to be a good guy. He seems to be friendly. So I'm not really too sure if it's supposed to be subverting stereotypes, but it just seems very random for him to have spikes. Overall, he looks pretty ugly. Last person
Okay, so the material on the life vest, I can agree. It looks a lot like a life vest. As far as him having spikes on his arms, I feel like we've seen much weirder characters. Like, let's say Ben 10, right? Yeah, look at this. So Ben 10, the speed character, he has a spike on his arm. And he also has another character, spikes on the arm, spikes up here, spikes on the legs. Yeah, look at this. Diamond 1 has some edges to him on the arms, everything like that. Ben 10 right here. Oh, look at this one. Let's look at this one. This mutt, the mutt one. You could say that this would be an evil character, right? The evil design, right? But it's not. Benson is a good guy. He turns to the different aliens and uses them for good. And most of them that I remember are good. Like when he actually meets that race, they're not evil, you know? They're just different races. So this is an alien or something. Relating it to be evil is subjective. Like, do you guys get it? Do you guys see where I'm coming from?
Very random for him to have spikes. Overall, he looks pretty ugly. Last person we'll go.
And then overall, he looks pretty ugly. Not, I'm not, okay. I'm trying to not like be like, I'm trying to not come off harsh or whatever reacting to him. But I have to say, like, maybe he does later. Oh, he does bring up Overwatch and so okay, so he does have some compare and contrast. Okay, so we're gonna get to there. Okay.
Look at for this specific point is who I'm gonna call Rocket Girl over here.
I've never seen this character up close. I've never seen her up close. Okay. She does look weird. I'll say that. She looks weird. She looks weird.
You look at her suit and you can't even tell what material is what. The visor looks opaque. It doesn't look like glass. It doesn't look like she can actually see through it. The rest
But it has holes in it, so could those be like cameras?
of her suit looks very rubbery or plasticky. It doesn't look hard. It doesn't look metallic. It doesn't look like cloth either. It just looks like some kind of rubber suit or a plastic suit. It just looks.
It's definitely rubbery or plasticky. Huh? I can agree that it looks like that.
It's very weird. So the materials are not very clearly defined when you look at these characters. Before I go into my next point, I want to talk about what bad AI art generation can do to a character. So this is AI generated.
What are you trying to suggest?
And while it's not a great character, it's not, I don't consider this to be like bad AI art. It doesn't do anything wild, anything confusing, any random clutter. These, on the other hand, are significantly worse. Now, I generated this on Midjourney.
Please explain.
Sci-fi warrior with complex
The audio in my head just got really weird.
power suit armor. Now, I know some of these have visors that are opaque, but that's not what I want to look at. What I want to look at is the randomness, just the random clutter. Getting a closer look on this specific one. It just has a bunch of random things. Like, what are all these holes? This thing, what is that? What do all these things do? I'm assuming that he'd hear through those, but like, what are all these things? Why is there a tube there? What are these lights for? What's that thing? It's just random. A bunch of these things are random. And this is using Niji6, and this is far worse. This guy's terrible. It's hideous. Don't know what these are, ears or eyes.
Okay.
Don't know if that's like some sort of like a scarf or something. Why are there openings on this armor segment? What are all these things? What is that? It's just a bunch of random hideous things. And that's what bad AI generation will do. It will make just random clutter. Just it'll fill in space when it doesn't know what to do with it. And the reason why I showed you that AI art was just to demonstrate to you why I'm very annoyed with this character. This character just has so much random clutter. I'm not saying this character was designed by AI. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that whoever designed this character did just as bad of a job as AI did. Like all these random tubes and pipes, whatever this thing is, all these random tubes, I don't know what that is back there. All of it's just random.
I think she was a sludge character. She was like she would spit out, not herself spit out, but her gun would spit out this sludge and it could turn on fire or she could ignite it. So she was giving very much like a cleaner sort of thing. Also, the design to me reminds me of like, this is just what it kind of reminded me of. But I will say like, obviously not as good, but that's just the vibe I got from her. Like, you know, someone tasked with a job, a cleaning job type of thing. Um I'm trying to relate if anything on him is clutter or if it doesn't make sense, which everything does because you have this thing in the back that senses when those monsters are around. You have the baby. If you were to first look at the game, look at this picture, right, and not know anything about it, I think you can also relate the assumption that everything on him is random. Looking at this, right, adding in what I know or what I assume is that she may not be a cleaner. She may not be anything like that, but she does have something to do with shooting out sludge. She has these things in the back that goes through her and then she launches it out and she's able to ignite it. Granted, we're not gonna know exactly what she is because the game is shut down. We're not gonna know what any of these stories are. We never got the chance to. As far as the design itself, can agree that it doesn't look that good. Maybe they could have used more white, more grays on her or something. But since we don't really know the contents of the background, we don't know if this design is the uniform for whatever she's doing, you know?
It makes no sense. There's no rhyme or reason to all these weird things. Her helmet makes no sense. From a practicality standpoint, if you're wearing a box, you're really limiting what you can see, especially if she's trying to turn her head. Like, none of this makes any sense.
No, in game she turns her head. You can see her turn her head just fine.
Her design is very frustrating for me, and I definitely think this is the worst design out of the whole crew. It just has so much randomness. It's hideous. None of it makes any sense. I'm assuming this is some sort of like a flame retardant suit because of the fact that this is a grenade launcher. But the shoulder pads, like the colors, I heard someone say that this color is basically like the default color of a 3D printer. This is just such an ugly design. The randomness does not help. For the next point, we're going to have an adult conversation, and that's stereotypes. So there are negative stereotypes and positive stereotypes. You can use stereotypes positively, and that's fine. But also there are negative stereotypes that reinforce a negative outlook towards those people. I myself, I am Arab. My family is from Iraq. I know I don't look like it. I don't sound like it. Even other Iraqis, they are confused when they find out my family is from Iraq. And I can tell you that throughout my entire life, I don't think there's been a single time I've seen an Arab character in which I'm like, yeah, that's a great character. In fact, most of the time, it's really bad. With that said, these characters have a lot of negative stereotypes. Like, why do these two black characters have to have like the sunglasses and they're probably into hip hop? I'm not sure. I haven't played the game. I don't know if they play hip hop music for these characters, but they look like
Has not played the game. I'm not saying that to discredit anything that he just said, but I am putting out the fact that he just said that he has not played the game, so therefore he does not have context for why these characters look the way they do. Which could possibly help and could possibly change the opinion. Now, if he had played the game and still had these opinions, I think it would have helped to give, once again, some positive aspects to make these characters fit better with their designed roles, or yeah, with the designed roles.
Like they probably have some sort of a hip hop theme, especially with those sunglasses that these two are wearing. Also, from the clips I've seen, this character talks like Mike Tyson. I don't know why they gave her a lisp. I don't think they understand. People make fun of Mike Tyson's voice all the time.
I think that's a stretch. A lot of people have lisps. I don't, just because Mike Tyson is a black person and she's a black person with a lisp, they're related.
So I don't know why they'd make her sound like that. But we really got to talk about this character right here.
Does she have a lisp? Okay, hold on. I gotta look this up.
You shouldn't bring knives to a gunfight. Thanks for having my back. Shouldn't bring knives to a gunfight. Thanks for having my back. Oh yeah, I got this.
Taste my power.
Is that all you've got? And you're done. Light 'em up,
I didn't know she had a triple back out. That was pretty tight.
people. You're gonna remember me. Woo. Now this is what it's all about.
Okay. I know that she has a cinematic.
One titanium water valve, just like the Salt Lord ordered. Had to break a few noses to get it, but hey, just a day at the office.
Any robotic devices?
You could say that.
Okay, so as you saw right there, like she opened up her legs, all the compartments of it, and gas came out of it. Like and I hearing her talk right there, the speed girl, I don't hear a lisp.
Ooh, you want to make this difficult, huh? Fine by me.
So I don't hear a lisp. If you know with someone with lisp, or if you heard a lisp before, Mike Tyson, you can tell what a lisp sounds like. This does not sound like a lisp to me. She's speaking normally. I don't know where he got the lisp from. I don't know why he related to Mike Tyson. Because once again, even if she has a lisp, there's no relation. There's no reason to relate it to another black person. Anyone, excuse me, anybody could have a lisp. Okay, anybody could have it. I really don't see the relationship, and I don't really see what the point was to comment it. I did not see her or hear her and be like, oh my god, that's like Mike Tyson. No. If anything, we don't really get a lot of characters or people in media that have these characteristics. So if she did have a lisp, I think that would have been cool. I would think that'd be really cool to hear and to see what a character like that is, so that people can relate to it. As far as both characters having glasses, maybe they both didn't have to have glasses. Okay, take the glasses off. Next.
But figuratively, she's the biggest stereotype of them all. When it comes to
Okay, what is the stereotype
So
here?
I don't know why they'd make her sound like that, but we really got to talk about this character right here. She's the biggest stereotype, not just in size, but figuratively, she's the biggest stereotype of them all. When it comes to black women in media, I've noticed basically two different types of stereotypes. And there is like the very masculine black woman, usually very fat, and that's what this is. This is from the game Monaco 2. This character right here, she's like a Scottish bruiser. First of all, I looked it up online, and like less than 1% of Scotland is black, but they decided to make this big woman, a very large woman, who is basically shaped like the heavy weapons guy from TF2. They made her bald, they gave her the nose ring, they gave her giant hands, and of course she's like as large as the Kool-Aid Man. And this is not okay to portray such a ridiculous negative stereotype. This is a tabletop game. Tomb Raider Shadows of Truth. This is not okay to just have a list of check marks that you want to go through and say, yep, got that. She's fat. She's black. She's got the pink hair strip. She's got the prosthetic legs. We're winning with this one. This is the definition of a token character. Going back to Lizzo over here, I genuinely...
Okay, there is no reason to start off saying that you want to have an adult conversation and then just blatantly disrespecting someone to a character. Like, whether if you like Lizzo or not, I really don't feel like there's any reason to do that. I was on board. I was listening to you about token characters and stuff like that. Once again, I didn't like that. I don't think there was any reason for you to do that. It was uncalled for. Feature Bios here, cutting in again to talk about the token character that he just brought up. So I quickly looked into it because I do remember the term token character. So token character are characters that are usually background characters and such are usually disposed and are eliminated from the narrative early on in order to benefit the main character or to increase drama. They do also have specific characteristics such as ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. Now, as far as this character in this game that he's saying right now as a token character, just because the character is big and black does not equate to her being fat or unrealistically big because of the context of the story. I feel like this is a story with many different races, people, aliens, etc. She is a scrapper. Now we don't know what that entails for people like her. I feel like we just don't know enough about this character to really claim it as a token character, especially when you're just trying to base it off of appearance. On top of that, we do have other characters. We do have the Speed Girl, and we do have that other guy adding into the roster of characters. Now, in terms of the example that he gave with the second image, with the woman with the prosthetics, now I will agree to having so many characteristics or traits slapped on this character was not a good choice. I do feel like that makes things worse. But at the same time, I don't agree saying that these characteristics are bad to have in a video game or that inherently makes things tokens. I feel like the other half of the definition, when that character gets written off or killed off for the benefit of the main character, that makes them a token character because that's the whole point of them. Or if that character delves into the stereotypes of that specific trait or traits. So being black, the religion, sexual orientation, gender, when the character is delved into those aspects and they have nothing outside of that, like they have no other personality besides that trait, then I would say those are token characters. I just feel like we just don't have enough context of this specific character in Concord to really claim it as a token character just because she's big and black. And there's a lot of ways to really flip this term on its head, but we haven't had a chance to see what Concord could do or was going to do with this character. It didn't feel like they were checking a box for me. And at first, you're going to see it when I get back here. I didn't even know this character was black until I look into it. So yeah, the character is black. I'm going to say that now. So yeah, that's what the full definition of what a token character is. And that's my thoughts on the subject that he brought up, that I don't fully agree with how he's trying to attach it to this case in Concord. Now, this character, I don't know if this character is black. Because in the short, if you know, she's part of a race of people that are big. There were other big ones like her. I haven't seen her without her helmet. I don't know if she has wool hair. I don't know if this character is black. She could be Hispanic. She could be Indian. I don't know this. Like, let me see here. If I look her up, what even is her name? Okay, so I looked her up. So she is black. So she's black. I looked up the voice actress. The voice actress is also black. But and then I've also watched her character trailer. She does say some things that would give you the hint that she could be of that race. But in the context of this universe, I don't know if that's her race, because usually in these space themes, race is not really a thing. Everybody is just sort of everything. And from what I got from her trailer, they didn't like her kind. Now, I didn't take it like, oh, they don't like black people, because they had no problem with the other two black people. They had a problem with her. She's a bigger one. She's from a race of bigger people. This is space. There's going to be many different people of many different sizes. Now, I don't feel like this is a token character to be big and black. I don't think so. What they're saying, what they're trying to portray, but as far as what he's saying, so far, I don't really align with.
Thought this character was some sort of a parody or a joke when I saw so many people using this character on their YouTube thumbnails. It literally looks like Lizzo cosplaying as Doomslayer or Master Chief. I mean, first of all, like, her armor looks ridiculous. It looks like rubber or like Michelin Man. It doesn't look hard. It looks very soft, just like the other materials. It doesn't look hard at all. It looks very rubbery. It looks like Michelin Man arms. You are feeding into negative stereotypes. I think a general
I don't see how they're feeding into negative stereotypes. As far as the design itself, yes, I can agree that maybe the colors and the bigness of it is pretty ugly. They could have done something a little bit more cool and sleek about it. She is very much inspired football player, it's giving. In the second part of it, of him saying, oh, it looks like Lizzo playing, like, I can understand that's like that statement of it, but just going back to how it was before, where he just said Lizzo over here, like, right, come on, guy. Like, that's like you said, word else. We don't need to do that. This character does not look good, and here's why.
I think a general rule of thumb to see if your character's okay is if you show it to your parents who are, you know, a generation older than you, if you're in your 20s or 30s and your parents are like 50s, 60s, 70s, and you show them this character and you say, what do you think? Tell me, is this a good character? And they start laughing at you. I don't think a single person thinks it's a good-looking character. I don't know who this character is for. With that said, I know there are a lot of people online who are saying that this game failed because of forced diversity. I'm not going to agree with that statement, but at the same time, I will say there's a clear goal to have diversity, but there's an assumption that diversity means good characters. And I want to explain. We're still having an adult conversation here. Diversity is neither good nor bad. Diversity is a result. If we have a business and we conclude that the business has very diverse teams with different races and ethnicities, that is neither good nor bad. That is the outcome. The observation is that it's diverse. If the teams within the business are not diverse, in fact, they all came from the same family. They're all brothers. All of them are brothers from the same family. That is still neither good nor bad. That is the outcome. The outcome. That is an observation. Diversity is neither good nor bad. And we need to have this adult conversation. So when you want the outcome to be diverse, that's fine. It doesn't mean it's going to result to good characters. And all these characters are really ugly. None of them look like they are the main character. None of them look interesting. My final point, I want to mention that there's no consistency within the characters, and I can understand the approach of like having, you know, all these different characters representing different worlds, so they have different looks. Like I think League of Legends has that thing where they all come from different places, so all the characters are different, and I can understand that. But when you're trying to establish this new world, this new universe, the Concord universe, and you're spending so much money on this game, and you spend 8 years developing this game, and you're using ugly colors for the world and the characters, and then none of them look like they come from the same universe. They all look like NPCs from random places. That doesn't help. Let's take a look at some better examples real quick. So Mass Effect, I wouldn't say they are great character designs visually. I mean, they are great characters. That's a whole different topic on its own. But visually, I'd say it's not bad, but not great either. They're okay. Mass Effect does a really good job with a consistent look. They all have like the same types of armor, they have the same styles of clothes, and it really helps build the universe. And that's the positive of having a consistency, like a very strong consistency helps build that universe. The negative part though is that when you start doing all those different tests, like you zoom out too far enough, or you blur the image, or you squint, or you do the silhouette test, they all start looking the same at a certain point. So that's the negative aspect of having such strong consistency. I know everyone wants to compare this to Overwatch because it's obviously trying to.
Okay, before we continue there, so with his example of Mass Effect, I'm not going to fault him too much, but I will say, because of the ending there, because I was already thinking it, the reason why the characters in Mass Effect worked is because they had to really sell the personalities of these characters. They kind of wore the same stuff. So your tests that he mentioned at the beginning all fails because it shows that that test isn't consistent depending on what you're designing. And if what you're designing, even in the case of Mass Effect, where everyone is the same, but no one complains about those characters. Nobody complains that these characters are ugly. Nobody complains that all these characters in this game look the same. Is because it worked. It had the chance to work and sell. That wasn't something people were looking at. People saw a game by BioWare, and they know BioWare is a good storytelling studio, so that's what they were there for. It's just something I noticed because it's like, if it doesn't work for this, if this testing thing is not a consistent thing, or it's not going to work in every scenario, then why even mention it, right? If it's not going to work. So it didn't work for Concord, right? But Concord failed. And it also didn't work for Mass Effect, but Mass Effect succeeded. So therefore, there's no method to the madness. You just gotta throw whatever at the wall and hope it sticks. So let's see what he says about Overwatch.
To do what Overwatch did. Hanzo, they did a pretty good job with him by basically making him dressed more traditionally, but with a few updated elements, like any.
Okay. So for Overwatch, this has been a thing. I've played Overwatch since the day of literally alphas and betas, like literally there. I played Overwatch, and I still kind of play Overwatch to this day, going on 8 years, however long it's been. And I remember, if you're an Overwatch player, you remember when Hanzo came out, people are like, "Oh, Hanzo looks kind of cool. What's up with his legs? Why he got chicken legs? What's up with his legs?" So see, there is a complaint here, but at the same time, when he was looking at the sniper chick and said that, "Oh, her legs are thick and weird, it doesn't fit." This is stuff that people were saying about Hanzo. They were saying these things about Hanzo, and other characters had like these weird robotic prosthetics and weird looking parts of themselves. They were like, is this armor or is that like his feet? Like, what's going on here? But was it a major complaint? No. I guess because overall the design looks really good, but it is something that people said. So I gotta bring it up. A lot of the art that Overwatch is known for is like these 2D styles. I would rather see if this conversation is consistent if you were to use the 3D models. Like when I was looking up Sojourn, I did not want her 2D art because I wanted to be relatable. I wanted to have a true comparison to this 3D art of the character to the 3D images that we have of Concord. Like, that's how I wanted to compare. If I'm going to compare 2D images of Concord to another game, I want to have 2D images of that other game, if that makes sense, Keep things fair. So, I don't think having these is a fair comparison.
Any element that's supposed.
2D art will usually look better than 3D art. Like, even today, when it comes to, like, anime and stuff, people hate CGI, 3D CGI stuff. 2D looks better, because it's true. It just does look better.
To be metal, any hard armor like his legs, they made that more futuristic looking, but the rest of him looks more traditional. Now let's look at Reinhardt real quick. He's such a good design. I think this is his design from the second game though. But one thing I mentioned earlier, like when you have like spikes, that usually indicates someone who's more aggressive or evil. The shape matters. The kind
Did he say aggressive? I thought he said just evil.
of lines, whether it's curves or straight lines or spikes, whatever like that, that helps speak towards what kind of character they are. Like a rounder character is usually more friendly. One with straight edges, as you can see, there's lots of, like, you look at his knees, like all these are very straight, like all these straight lines. Straight lines usually indicate strength. As you can see, this looks like very thick, powerful armor, and it really helps emphasize that. Overall, Overwatch has a very good looking cast of characters, especially the originals that came out. They got really goofy later on, and then that was also coincidentally after they revealed that they were using an algorithm to tokenize their characters. And as I mentioned before, it's not okay to make token characters. When your goal is just to have a checklist and that's it, you're making a token character. Before they revealed that they were using that algorithm, the original cast I thought was actually very excellent. They all have very unique designs. They all look like they fit into the same world, mix of technology and soft clothings.
I mean, mostly because they're all from Earth. I mean, this is just me assuming that Concord has characters from other planets and stuff. But yeah, all these characters are from Earth, so they're able to pull and be inspired by earthly things. Like, for example, Torbjorn is Scottish. I could be wrong. I don't think he's Scottish. But for example, if he's Scottish, they can go to Scotland and like see what they look like, and he's an engineer, and they could like pull things from there and stuff like that. So yeah, Symmetra is Indian. They could go to India and they could inspire her to look like this, and then have a proper consistency. For someone like myself who've watched like Star Wars and stuff, you see a lot of places and people, especially when you look at like the bounty hunting side, a lot of characters that are just mismatched constantly. Like you would have Han Solo, a freaking Western looking dude with a gun, fighting a giant jelly person in a bar, right? Like, these are two characters interacting with each other in the same universe, but they're from different worlds. You see these things, like for example, what's his name, Jar Jar Binks. I know everybody hates him, but he's a character that's a part of the cast. Look at him. Look at his face. like C-3PO and R2-D2 and stuff, or the guy that had that owned Anakin or whatever. Like, these characters that interact with each other are from completely different planes of life and existence in a way, but they're together. Like, even though they're like different places, they like it's it's still one universe, and it makes you know the universe is big. Granted, I don't know what the size of Concord was because the game is over and they were putting out shorts slowly. So we don't really know a lot of context for what actually fits together in this world.
Some of the characters aren't that original. Genji is basically like Cyborg Ninja. Bastion is basically Android 16, got ripped out of World of Warcraft. But overall,
I agree.
I think the cast of characters is very appealing looking. You look at these characters, at least one of them will make you say, yeah, I want to play that character. Team Fortress 2, I mean, obviously it came out before Overwatch.
Okay. I always thought Team Fortress 2 was flat AF. Like, come on. All blues, all reds, or a mix of the two, depending on what short or someone made online type of thing. All these characters are flat. Like, they're flat. Like, heavy gunner, medic, flamethrower guy, speedster, sniper, doc. Like these characters, in my opinion, were boring. but they were fun to play. The gameplay was good and all that stuff. People fell in love with it. But hey, to me, these characters are bland and boring. But does that mean the game is bad? No, the game is freaking fun. People love this game and they still want to play this game today, even though it's not being supported and it's full with bugs, or mostly full of bugs and hackers. Like, how is this argument about Concord one way, but a game like this, it works? Let me see what he says.
And everyone called Overwatch a Team Fortress 2 clone or a knockoff. Team Fortress 2 is one of those games that passes the silhouette test. Every single character has a different height, different shape. I guess the two closest would be the spy and the sniper, but the spy is a little bit shorter, and the sniper, you know, he's got the hat to help him look a little bit different. Team Fortress 2 does two other really good things. One being that exaggerated body parts really helps them stand out. For example, every single character has big hands, especially the heavy weapons guys. They all have exaggerated facial features. Other than that, all of them have really fun personalities. I think all their personalities are some sort of...
I think that Team Fortress 2 really sold because of the personalities of the characters. That's what really sold it, not because of the design, mostly because of the personality. Like, my brother would quote it to this day. I am heavy weapons guy. It's a joke between us now. I never played Team Fortress, never had interest in it, but he loved it. And it's a joke between us of the personality of the character. So maybe Concord just didn't have enough personality. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not really the designs.
Murderous psycho, but that's another discussion. We'll talk about the visuals right now. And I'm going to wrap this up by talking about a couple of fighting games real quick. Tekken, I think, has a great cast of characters. I think Tekken 3 was peak design. And then at 4, they started going downhill once they decided that they wanted everybody to wear street clothes, especially hoodies. Everyone was wearing a hoodie in Tekken 4. And they kept going with that after Tekken 4. But Tekken 3, I know this is a picture of Tekken 2. I couldn't find a picture of the entire cast of Tekken 3. In Tekken 1, 2, and 3, they focused more on having them wear their martial arts uniforms. It made them all stand out. Like, every one of these characters look interesting. The clothes is very functional and it fits the world. That helps them fight, helps them become mobile, and helps.
Once again, I believe most people in Tekken are from Earth, and they're all martial artists or combat related, right? So they are gonna have a consistency between them.
Them be part of the tournament. They all have like a distinct hairstyle. Maybe Paul and Jack might look a little bit similar, but you see Jack and everyone's like, okay, that's Terminator over there. But overall, they all look very distinct. Their clothes help them look unique. This is the only group shot that's official artwork that I can find at Tekken 3.
That's a good shot.
You can get a good idea that these characters, you know, they all stand out. They look unique. They have different hairstyles. This is back when, before every black character had dreadlocks. It was actually pretty unique for a character to have dreadlocks back then. I think they're all like really good looking.
Now we just have dreadlocks that look bad everywhere, or that same like style, that same haircut style from like, what's it called? I forget his name, from Wakanda. That guy that Michael B. Jordan played. Everyone has that hairstyle.
Designs and helps them stand out. And to finish off, we're going to look at Street Fighter. As I mentioned before, stereotypes are not all negative. Some of them can be used positively. I mean, I think Street Fighter is a great example. Punch Out, the Punch Out game, Super Punch Out, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, the Wii Punch Out. Those games use stereotypes, and it's more in a fun and playful way. Like a Russian who wrestles with bears. Yeah, that's a stereotype, but it's not a negative stereotype. No one's going to get their feelings hurt about a Russian who wrestles with bears. A Jamaican who likes to dance. I don't think that's going to hurt anybody's feelings. I think that's more of a fun stereotype. In fact, they decided to make yoga into a fighting style, and that's really goofy. All the points I've mentioned before apply to all these characters. They all pass the silhouette test, the squint test, the everything test. They all have a color that makes them stand out. And
But you just showed Team Fortress 2 and you showed Mass Effect. Both of these, in a way, could fail these tests, but they were still successful.
unique from each other, and that's what matters, is that if you look at them and be like, okay, yellow and brown, I don't see another character that has those colors. Green and orange, I don't see another character like that. The one reason why they wanted to do that with Street Fighter is this game needed to attract people who are walking by the arcade machine, and they look by and they see these really cool characters yelling goofy things, then that's going to attract them towards the arcade machine and put in their quarters. And that goes back to Concord. Concord, I believe, failed because it looks ugly and the characters are uninteresting. For those of you who are wanting to get into video game development, it's important to have an understanding of what makes a character look attractive and what catches an eye. Tell me about a game that attracted you towards playing it because of its characters. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to make more YouTube videos, especially on game development and resources for indie developers. And if you haven't already, check out my other channel. I just post motivational.
Okay. So this is Saberpath, why Concord Failed, a game development explains character design. This is his take on a point that could have led to Concord's failure for having not really good character designs. I hope my interjections kind of show my aspect to the situation, for why I think it's a funny reason, if it's true, like if that's really it, because a lot of people are saying it, that's why Concord failed. I just kind of find it funny when there's other examples that basically show the contrary. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the situation. Do you think Concord failed because of its lack of character diversity and uniqueness when it comes to the designs, or do you think it's something else? Let's have a discussion down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.